Good afternoon, I'm Annabel Ostell with your Mersey News Live Roundup. After a weekend of Halloween hijinks, Merseyside police say Mischief Night celebrations could have had fatal consequences. A firework was thrown at a police officer and a flat on the Wirral set on fire. Ollie Nolan Davis reports.
Mischief Night occurs once a year on the day before Halloween. People use this evening as a way to cause mayhem, leading to vandalism and other antisocial behaviour. A flat on Pasture Road became the target of a group of teenagers who attacked the property, causing a fire inside.
At around 6:50 p.m. on the 30th of October, police and firefighters were called to a property on Pasture Road after fireworks were sent through a letterbox, resulting in a fire in the flat above the launch pad.
Fortunately, there were no reported injuries. The police are encouraging any witnesses to come forward with information. Ollie Nolan Davies, Morton, Mersey News Live.
A 42-year-old woman has appeared at Liverpool Magistrates Court charged with the murder of a 50-year-old man in Litherland. Police were called to a house on Bridge Road in the early hours of Sunday morning following reports of a stabbing. Jonathan Gibbons died later in hospital. Joanne Moran spoke only to give her name and address and was remanded in custody and is due to appear in court again on Thursday. Major new research by scientists here at Liverpool John Moores University has revealed more than 3,000 coastal locations in England and Wales are at risk of pollution from industrial landfill sites due to rising sea levels. Dr Patrick Byrne led investigations in the North West and North Wales. He's been telling Mersey News Live that a lack of flood defences means pollutants like copper, arsenic and lead are seeping into the sea with devastating consequences for wildlife and the environment. The research is the first to look at the legacy to our beaches from the industrial waste dumped in landfill sites. Nearly 3,500 landfill and waste sites were identified close to our coastlines, with more than 700 coastal sites listed as priority sites without flood defences. In the northwest, this includes the remnants of the steel-making industry and traditional centres for petrochemical, chemical and non-ferrous metal industries around the Mersey. Now the scientists behind the research say it's time for the government to step in.
So what we're hoping is that the government will kind of look at this research and use our findings to help prioritise what very limited funding is available to the most highest risk sites for remediation, so kind of some sort of sea defences, something to kind of make sure that these contaminants don't end up in the environment, contaminating ecosystems as a result of sea level rise.
A new Vision Zero strategy has been launched in Liverpool to stop people dying on our roads. Its aim is to put an end to fatal accidents by 2040. As Chloe Bush has been finding out, road safety has dropped down the list of local priorities in recent years.
In Liverpool alone, council figures estimate motorists covered 1.26 billion miles on the city's roads last year. Now, the zero tolerance strategy aims to minimise the risks to pedestrians, cyclists, children and the elderly, and reverse the impact of budget cuts on road safety.
This strategy is going to be really challenging to make sure that it actually delivers on what it says. Each of the councils now are really having to look at their own finances and decide what for them is the most important thing to do and how to spend their money. And we're trying to impress upon them that road safety needs to be prioritised, which is really hard to do. It's going to take a while, and like I say, we've got to 2040 to achieve it.
Latest figures reveal 357 pedestrians and cyclists were involved in fatal or serious accidents last year. Student Luke Seanchel runs a cycling group and says that things need to change so that people can feel safe.
In some instances, it does feel like you have to take your own life into your own hands. There's a lot of things that need to be done, not specifically just putting in cycle lanes, but kind of like campaigns, like educational campaigns for road users. And also a lot more encouragement of people to just get out of their cars and on bikes in general.
One victim says drivers being distracted on their phones or changing a song causes accidents, similar to the one he suffered when knocked off his bike.
The crux is that there's such a higher level of responsibility that people who are driving motorised vehicles need to kind of recognise that when they get behind the wheel, one mistake can kill. There needs to be an awareness and a campaign to try and make distracted driving as socially unacceptable as drink and drug driving is.
Vision Zero outlines 4 key pillars: safe speeds, safe streets, safe vehicles and safe behaviour that will be used to enforce change. They aim to set a series of 5-year targets to achieve what many may see as the impossible. Chloe Bush, reporting for Mersey News Live.
Food inflation prices are rising at the fastest rate in 42 years. The increase of 14.6% is driving up essential items such as bread, meat and milk, leaving food banks around the region struggling to meet demand. Our reporter Natalia Luke has more on this story.
With the increase in gas prices, many of us are still fighting the want to switch on the heating. However, research from Which now suggests that millions of people are skipping meals to tackle the costs of food inflation. Compassion Acts are a charity aiming to reduce poverty in Southport and Formby and have been trying to help people through their multiple food banks.
Our pantry attendances have doubled in the last month. Our requests for pantry access has gone up 3 times as much as we were doing earlier in the summer, and our food bank use is on the rise.
With an increase of 46% since April and a large amount of new users, food bank donations are struggling to meet the demand. While this may seem like a lot of food, it is barely enough to feed all of their users.
We have noticed a dip in donations. I think most charities and certainly food banks all over the country are seeing the same thing. Understandably, our donors are, affected by the increased cost of everything as well. And so people, are cutting back on things, and one of those things is quite often charitable giving. So we're getting slightly less food in. At the same time, we're needing more food to give out, so we're having to buy more food. And the financial donations that we would usually use to buy that food are, again, down on what they have been in the past.
As food prices and bills continue to rise into winter, the need for food banks are sure to follow.
After being confirmed as the city chosen to host Eurovision on behalf of Ukraine, the news was seen as a major boost for the city. But since then, there have been issues with soaring hotel prices and countries pulling out over the cost of staying in the United Kingdom. There are also concerns over whether Liverpool City Council is in a position to host such a major event. Matthew Welch has more.
With Downing Street set to release their financial report on the 17th of November, questions will be raised about whether Liverpool can afford to host a Eurovision Song Contest.
As far as I'm aware, a lot of it is funded alongside from the BBC and Eurovision itself. There will be an element of funding in terms of the local authority and what we do in terms of events and legacy events around that. But in terms of benefits, I suppose that it can ultimately bring to the local economy, it will be huge.
Thousands of people will be travelling from around the world, and Liverpool will be hoping to showcase its art, history, and music museums to leave visitors with long-lasting impressions.
Liverpool obviously is kind of steeped in musical heritage. It's a UNESCO city of music, and so really bringing Eurovision shines a light on that culture and that heritage and the whole kind of the arts and creativity in Liverpool.
The title of UNESCO City of Music was awarded to Liverpool in 2015. And no, this was not just because of the Beatles. Liverpool has a booming music scene, having a range of venues that has put on music festivals for people to enjoy.
I don't think one event is going to make a huge difference. I think the difference the event makes is in 2 ways. One is a landmark event. It's a big event and it acknowledges the UNESCO City of Music status. So it helps to draw attention to that and, if anything, to revive it. I think Liverpool's done okay with it, but it's not a clear-cut thing when you get the status. I think the opportunities that it creates, and it can create, are for networking.
Despite there being some questions to be asked, it's clear that hosting Eurovision is a great opportunity for the city. Matthew Welch, Mersey News Live, Liverpool.
It's been a busy week for our transport correspondent Chloe Bush. In the second of her reports, she catches up with bus driver Neil Atherton, who's been walking the bus routes of Merseyside to highlight the increasing cost of living. He's locked up more than 100 miles and has raised over £3,000 for charities, the Whitechapel Centre and the Trussell Trust food banks.
Bus driving instructor Neil Atherton has completed his 100-mile quest to highlight the struggle of the increasing cost of living. After driving the bus routes in Merseyside for over 22 years, Neil decided to make the switch and to walk them instead. The 43-year-old father has walked over 105 miles in 7 days. I caught up with him during one of his hikes to see how he was doing.
It's going okay. If I could, my head's gone a bit and my knees aren't the best, but other than that, it's going fantastic. Without the support of me and the bus walkers, we'd be struggling, but it's going okay. One more day.
Neil has been joined by friends, family and fellow bus drivers to show their support.
He's a great lad, he needed the support, and here we are giving him as much backup as we can, getting him through it. He's done really well and more than happy to support him as much as we can.
The bus walker has managed to exceed his target of raising £100 as he reaches a total of over £3,000. This will be donated to charities Whitechapel Centre and the Trussell Trust food banks. Chloe Bush, reporting for Mersey News Live.
And in sport, Liverpool is hoping for a reversal of fortune tonight as they face Napoli in the Champions League. But boss Jurgen Klopp admits there's no quick fix for their poor run of form. They've made a slow start in the Premier League and also suffered a 4-1 loss away at Napoli at the beginning of their Champions League campaign. And the weather at Anfield and across the region, gloomy with wind and rain, but still mild. That's it for now. For more on these stories, go to www.merseynewslive.co.uk.